This video is sponsored by Miniswap. Alright you lot, welcome back. So, I was having a little think earlier because I've got a Baneblade kit that I need to do something with, and I was trying to work out what variant to actually build. Not that it makes a huge amount of difference, because whatever I end up doing with this kit, it's going to look nothing like what it's supposed to, based on, the last two that I've built, that one and then the one over there. I just did what I wanted with those. I had an idea in mind, I went for it, and really the actual loadout of it was kind of a secondary concern. It was more just, can I make this look how I want it to look? Without, admittedly, on the second one at least, having a clear idea as to what that was. The thing is, I've been looking at the different variants, right? I've been looking at the different variants and trying to work out, of those variants, which ones do I actually like the most? Because God knows there's enough of them. The Baneblade chassis is one of those things where you think, oh yeah, Baneblade. And then you think, oh yeah, but also Stormlord and Shadow Sword and Bane Sword and Banehammer and Doomhammer and the Baneblade itself, and what am I missing? I'm definitely missing one, but I can't remember which one it is. Either way, we're going to go through these so I can work out what I'm going to do. And I'm also going to make a bit of a confession here. A confession that I think is an okay one to make. I think this is something that perhaps, if I do it, I'm sure some of you do it as well, which is to kind of talk down what you've done with your own models. Because I do this quite often, right? So, First up, we've got the Stormlord. I do like the Stormlord, but I like it because of the gun on the front, the Vulcan Mega Bolt or whatever. I like that quite a lot, but it's a troop transport. And I've said before, and I will maintain this, and I will continue saying this, troop transports are fine. Don't have a problem with them. Obviously, they have a distinct purpose in-game. It'd be silly to dislike them when they do something useful. I just prefer an actual tank. I just do. I can't help it. And even though this is essentially it's just got a hole where the rest of them have got a bit of like engine or deck plating or whatever, I still look at it and I go, there is points cost that's gone into having the transport option here, and I don't want to waste any points on that because I just want it to be a big tank. So this has ended up being one of those things where I love the fact that it's got that gun. I just don't want to have one because I wouldn't use it for what it's meant for, right? Next up, I was thinking about the Doomhammer and I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's maybe a little bit boring. I don't know why. It just... something about the main gun on it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm not sitting there going, hell yeah, that looks awesome. Instead, I'm just like, yeah, it's okay. This is where I started to realise, as I was going through, that I think I know what my favourite variants of this tank actually are, and it's not what I thought it would be when I started thinking about it. Next up, we've got the Storm Sword. I prefer this to the Doomhammer quite a bit. The thing is, whilst I do prefer it, it doesn't hit the mark. It feels like it's missing something at the front of this, but I couldn't really tell you what that is. For some reason, I just feel like if I was going to do a Storm Sword, I would want to somehow build it into a turret. Maybe with a bit of plasticard, maybe make the fact that it's a hull-mounted weapon, take that part of the hull, elevate it, and make it a turret of its own. And I realised that, by the way, that is completely the opposite of what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be hull-mounted, it's not supposed to be on a turret, but I feel like a little bit of turret work could be quite fun with that particular gun, and so that's where my brain goes with it. And I just feel like that could elevate it for me when I'm looking at it, right? Okay, we're back to the Banehammer, and I'm now realising what it is that I'm not quite sure on when it comes to this particular layout for the different Baneblade variants. The Banehammer and the Doomhammer, I think it's that gap between the hull bit and then the engine block at the back. I think that's what it is. I think that is the thing that's causing me to look at it and just feel like it's not quite right. There's like a gap in the structure that is drawing my eye, and it makes it feel like there's an odd amount of space just missing partway along the back of this thing. And something that really puzzles me is that my Baneblade that I built uses basically the same parts as both the Doomhammer and the Banehammer, but with a little bit of messing around with it. Now, unfortunately, Games Workshop has not given us a 360-degree view for any of these vehicles. which is a bit of a shame. It's just the one picture and the sprues and the different variants you can have. Can't actually spin them or look at them top down, which is why I keep getting confused as to how it is that this doesn't look like what I did with mine. I can't remember what I did with mine specifically, but the gap seems bigger between the front and the back, which we will get to in a moment. But there's just something about that layout that, looking at the vanilla one at least, or the vanilla ones, it just doesn't speak to me, and I don't want to make it. Now, if you're looking to expand your collection, or perhaps shift a few unwanted boxes or models onto a new home, send them over to someone who will appreciate them, then you need Miniswap. Miniswap is an online marketplace for your miniatures, designed and built by hobbyists for hobbyists. The fact is, this hobby is pretty expensive. If you want to start a new army or expand an existing one, if you're buying new in box straight from the source, even with a third-party retailer, you can be forking out a hefty chunk of cash. But there's a whole load of hobbyists out there who no longer want those projects, who no longer want those boxes or those miniatures, and Miniswap gives you a place to sell and buy those second-hand units. Miniswap has a hefty catalogue of stuff already, but it's expanding all the time. If you're looking to start a project from scratch, you might want to look at their new in-box and on-sprue offerings. And if you want to skip assembly and painting completely, you can have a look at the fully painted tabletop and pro filters. In fact, if you've got an army that's been lying around for a while, you never use it anymore and you want to shift it on for something new, you can put the whole thing up on Miniswap as one batch or separated into different lots. If you sign up to Miniswap using my link in the description or the pinned comment down below, you will get 0% seller commission for the first 90 days after sign up and free shipping on your first order. Thank you very much to Miniswap for sponsoring the video. Let's get back to it. Now, when we get to the Shadow Sword and the Bane Sword, I mean, to be fair, the only difference is how long the gun is. And I mean, that is literally the only difference. Flicking between the two, and it is simply, well, one has got one extra part. That's all there is to it. Funnily enough, I like both of these. I like them a lot. Despite the fact that I think these are my two favourite variants, despite that, somehow, and I don't really know how, I just haven't made one as it should be, which makes me think that perhaps that's something that I should do. Now, we also have the Hellhammer and we have the Baneblade. I mean, again, we're looking at pretty much the same tank twice, except one has got a bigger gun than the other one. And these are quality. These are absolutely peak. I love them both. They are fantastic. I think the Bane Sword kind of edges it out because, once again, longer gun equals better. There's some sort of innuendo in there that I'm sure you could find if you really think about it, but that's not what I'm going for. I just really like both of these. I do like the fact that they put the Baneblade sponsons one panel back than they did on the Hellhammer. That's quite a nice touch. I don't know why I like that they did that. I don't know whether that's something that it specifically says to do in the instructions, because I barely follow the instructions when I put these together, but I like that there's a difference there. Now, with all of that being said, having gone through every single variant that you can currently buy, or at least the ones that are plastic, what is my favourite out of all of them? It's an incredibly disappointing and self-aggrandizing answer, because actually my favourites are none of them. And this is where I almost feel a little bit embarrassed, but I don't think I should, and I don't think you should either. See, of the versions that you can build, I haven't actually built any of them properly. I've always done what I wanted to do with them, and the two super heavies that I currently have, you know, third one on the way, I like those more than the ones that Games Workshop have done, even though the non-kit bashed or converted ones are some of my favourite models that Games Workshop do, full stop. I'm not talking like, oh, I like them a little bit. No, the Bane Sword and the Baneblade particularly are just some of my favourite things that Games Workshop have ever made. And yet, the drive to just build one as is totally missing. And as I was sitting there trying to think of ideas as to what to do with this Baneblade that I haven't put together yet, I had this moment of being like, I don't feel like I should prefer mine. But of course you should. Of course you should prefer the thing you've kit bashed and converted to how it's supposed to be done. If you're doing that, you are making it exactly the way you want to make it. You are catering it to your specific tastes and your specific desires and your specific project. Like, if I wasn't doing the kind of tank army that I'd planned to do, or fell into doing, I guess, if it hadn't been inspired by, like, the aesthetic of Trench Crusade and, like, one specific piece of artwork, then maybe building them vanilla and building them as is and not messing about with them and making them unholy abominations of every version of the chassis, maybe I would look at that and go, well, actually, this is perfect because this fits the force that I'm making. But the thing is, that's not the force I was making. I wasn't making a standard Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum regiment. I wasn't making one tank to go with an army of infantry or building something around the idea of just a normal, just a normal regiment. Instead, it was this weird hybrid of the idea of haunted tanks, super hyper religious infantry, should I ever go in that direction, using Cawdor miniatures for those as opposed to using actual, Cadians or whatever. All of it stemmed from the fact that I wanted a particular look, and I just chased that with no real regard as to whether it was going to look specifically like the thing that it was supposed to be. I would argue that my Baneblade doesn't necessarily look like a Baneblade. For a start, it's got a hull-mounted gun and no turret. Well, I mean, it's got a few turrets, but it's not got the turret it's supposed to have. As such, kind of doesn't fit the brief for your classic Baneblade, right? Same thing with the Banesword. Yes, technically the main gun is hull-mounted, but it's also way lower down than it should be, and somehow it's ended up with a turret that it shouldn't have. That, in a way, it feels like it should mean that they're not as good, but to me, they will always be better. And the other thing as well is that that's only to me. You put down either of those tanks in a normal guard army, and they will probably look absolutely stupid. Why is there bits of wood on them? Why are they covered in candles when everyone else is just wearing green camo? What the hell is this? But that's not where they are. That's not what I use them for. I use them along with a bunch of Lehman Russes, and soon Rogel Dawns as well. And the whole thing is just how I want it, which means out of all the variants that Games Workshop have made, it would kind of be silly not to prefer the ones that I did, right? Anyway, that was super rambly, very all over the place, but that's just what I've been thinking about today when it comes to the hobby and planning out another kit bash in the near future. So there you go. Thank you very much to Miniswap for sponsoring the video. Remember to use the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below to check them out. Thank you very much for watching, and tell me, do you also vastly prefer the things that you have kit bashed and converted? And do you ever have that feeling of, should I be saying that I like this more or not? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you for the next one.